Thank you, French band Air. You rule. You guys absolutely rule. All right, so I asked for it. I didn't have a subject, of course. How many times do I do this? I mean, I was literally like 5 minutes ago. Ah, good, good. Phil the Kill offers a couple. The merger between Netflix and Warner Brothers, and the Cinnabon woman who got fired for dropping hard R's. I guess she got fired, yeah. She hit the news talking to Somalis. Well, I was thinking about Donald Trump and the Somalis. Let's let the New York Post fill us in. Let's let the Zionist lunatics at the New York Post fill us in on it.
And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but
She's
I always watch her
garbage.
for years. I've watched her complain about our
She should
Constitution,
get cancer.
how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America is a bad place. It
Yeah.
hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody.
Well, you know, everybody has their strong suits. Yeah, hates Jewish people. Don't go there. If you just had me and then you throw that in anti-Semitic, come on now. You know, I want to paint her as a full villain, Donald. We don't want to establish we don't want to establish sympathy for her. Don't you know how to do this? All right, go ahead. I don't think I honestly think Donald Trump is never going to figure out. There are people, aging boomers, older boomers, not the young boomers, not the young cool boomers like me. Basically, I am to boomers with that ass, and I'll admit this is pathetic. I'm pathetic, but I am to boomers that got like the as that guy who's a teacher straining to be the cool teacher, or a friend's parent straining to be the cool parent, right? Oh no, I'm the cool authority figure. You know, that's how I feel. But I nonetheless, I mean, it's basically true that as far as boomers go, I mean, I'm uh, not that bad. But Trump and other boomers, the other end of the older boomers, they're never going to figure it out. Really. I mean, they're so inculcated in the culture. Plus, most of them have something to lose. Like me, I basically don't have much to lose. I don't have real money and I don't have, any sort of status. Really. I can't even imagine getting fired from the job I have, for saying things. I don't think they would fire me. I don't think they could get away with it. I can't reveal where I work and, too much about it. But I honestly think I'm in a safe job that way, in that they might not be able to do it, which is funny. That's the cost of rising up, I guess, is that you can be fired for something stupid, like saying something like this.
Uh, and I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real.
But I mean, I want to praise Trump. We'll get through this. We'll play the whole thing, but I want to praise him. But it's just like, there's another area where it's clearly the case with Ilan Omar. Just like with MTG and Robert Massey, the real reason he's going after these people is because they're anti-Israel. That's it. You know what I mean? There's no other reason for him to go after MTG, for instance. And they'll say specifically about the Epstein files, but the Epstein files, let's be honest, are a proxy for the Israel question, or the Jewish question, if you will. Uh, and, of course they are. And let me just say it, and I hope I don't lose you, my friend, on this. I've said it before. I so don't give a fuck about the supposed child trafficking. I mean, I see it as wrong. I condemn it. I think the guy should go to jail for it, for trafficking underage girls, prostituting them. But I don't view it the way others view it. Like it's a pedophile ring. I know, I know. Actually, it's not pedophilia, but it's true. It's not fucking pedophilia. It's prostitution of underage girls. That's bad enough. Why do you have to fucking play it up? Make us look like a bunch of fucking dorks out here talking about pedophiles. I guess it's working though. I mean, because like serious figures will use the p word, but I don't care about that at half as much, not a quarter, not a tenth as much as I care about what the fuck was Epstein doing on behalf of Israel? What was he doing on behalf of Israeli intelligence? What was going on there? I mean, the girls were part of the scam, blackmail, or just to lure honeypots, or just to lure these guys in. Hey, God, no, could you imagine what else was going on? Uh, you know, that's what's of interest to me. you know and I'm so averse to moralizing about things, and it's not because I'm like sexually degenerate. I'm very conservative about sex and about sexuality and all of this stuff. In my personal life, I am. I'm not a degenerate. I mean, I'm one of the least degenerate people I've ever known. Of course, I've known some pretty degenerate fuckers, but besides that, I mean, I'm not like this guy who's all for sexual license and everything else. At the same time, nothing, nothing cringes me out more than people getting shrill about these sort of moral questions. Like, pedophile ring, like, victims. I'll even go this far. Victims. Yes, these girls were all victims. The underage ones, even girls over age. So silly to think of this arbitrary line at 18 when some of these 16-year-olds are more mature than some of these 20-year-olds, and some of these 20-year-olds, it's as great a crime, him luring them into prostitution. It's no less a crime than him luring the 16-year-old into it, just because they crossed that fucking arbitrary line. You know what I mean? Prostitution is wrong. Selling women into sexual slavery or sexual employment, selling women's bodies, even by the women themselves, is wrong. You know. Of course, I'm open to arguments for there being some sort of prostitution to, you know, some sort of controlled prostitution to keep guys honest. Anyway, I mean, I just don't see it the way other people seem to want to see it, to insist on seeing it as this, you know, the people. I honestly, when I see people doing this, I think they're more in love with. We are in love with all of us. Me too. My hands raised. We are actually all addicted to outrage, especially our own outrage. It makes us feel alive and moral and better than the other guy, you know. And nothing works better for that than the sight of some guy taking advantage of women. But let's be honest, their victim status is not the same as a child, raped child. We're calling it rape, and yeah, I mean, in a sense, it is rape, but it's not the same as actual forcible rape. Let's be honest about this. These girls were seduced into a life. They came in there willingly. And the reason it's wrong is because we don't allow. Maybe part of this is a need to keep maybe part of this, and when they presenting these girls as victims as if they were forced into it more than they were, maybe there's a need in some minds to keep that to try and project their idea of individual rights and liberty. And here's another fucking sacred cow I'll push over as long as we're tip over another sacred cow while we're at it. Individual rights aren't all that, right? And think about this case here, prostitution of young girls. Some girl, she's 18. She can actually make that call herself, say, to go with Epstein and prostitute herself. Uh, you know, um, is that more important to me than living in a moral and decent society where that sort of thing is shunned and punished? No, you know, individual rights are just overrated, man.
A terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes or however many lakes they got a lot of lakes. But this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off. And now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that, Scott. I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%.
Is
They
it?
contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody
Fuck.
say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their
Oh,
country stinks.
fuck.
And
Oh,
we don't want them in our
fuck.
country. I could say that about other countries too. I can say it about other countries too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point.
It's almost worth it having this fucking Zion Don in office. It's almost worth it. It may in the long run be worth it that he breaks these fucking barriers, right? Can you imagine a U.S. president say this? People's people watching this. And I was talking about the boomers, all the boomers who've spent their entire life where not only can you not say this, you could not put these facts as delicately as you know what I mean. There was no amount of rhetorical skill with which you could put these facts forward for. And maybe this is the genius or the too dumb to know better luck that Donald Trump possesses. Uh, that he says, people this whole time have been trying to gently pry open these lock boxes of things you can't talk about, the obvious things you can't talk about. And before Trump came along, we were all being driven absolutely insane. I mean, I forget the way I used to view it before Trump came along. You know what I mean? I was absolutely obsessed with this world, the nature of it all, how the obvious reality and the most obvious one to bring up is the difference between white and black people, white and black behavior, and the obvious discrepancy between the official line on black people, the romanticized cultural image of black people, and the reality on the streets, right? But what Trump has either figured out or is just too dumb to know uh, any better. He knows that up until now they've all been trying to to finesse their way into these lock boxes and open it up. He said, just go. He just goes way past that. Okay, let me just put it as crudely as possible. Uh, you know, because as we've seen, it doesn't really matter if you put it gently. There's no amount of rhetorical skill with which you could have addressed these issues because there was a deliberate, conscious uh, effort on the part of the people who really run things that these lies will prevail, you know. And somehow Trump got in there, and he got in there in part because he's there this time around. The second Trump term we can owe entirely, I think, to Zionists saying it's okay. You can run again. It's okay. We won't steal this election. It's okay. We won't interfere. You know, we prefer you to Kamala Harris. And why wouldn't they? Right? As I've said about Kamala Harris, she might have been better uh, overall. We know she would have, and not because she's doing anything, but it's because a Democrat would have been in office, a Democrat reliant on these younger anti-Zionist Democrat votes, right? She might have been better. She certainly would have been better on foreign policy because, not because she's smarter or has better character or anything, only because there would have been the pressure on Kamala Harris to oppose uh, fucking Israel. Evil, wicked, stinky ass Israel. Anyway, let's get done with this. Let's see what else. Lay it on those Somali bets. Speaking of stinky, we're talking about Somalians.
We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
Wow.
Ilan Omar is garbage. She's garbage.
You're supposed to take the garbage out, not bring it in.
Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain.
It's fucking true.
They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from.
But the idea that they would have zero appreciation, right? I mean, a lot of these groups, you can say what you want about the Indians, certainly about the Hispanics, but there are at least large sections of these groups, Asians especially, large sections of these groups who are very enthusiastic about America because, um, and I don't offer this as an excuse for mass immigration. I don't think it's all that noble, but these are people who at least have the good sense to be sort of patriotic about America because they can see what a good deal it is for them, you know, which is basically the least you could ask of any group of people. Anybody who comes here and improves their lot by coming here would at least have to be living in recognition of that, right? And 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 you see, like with most groups, there's at least a large faction that feels that way. But with the Somalis, you don't get that impression at all. You know, Somalis have this in Africa, despite having one of the shittiest countries in Africa of all places. Imagine you're in Africa and you're at the bottom of the bottom, the worst continent, and you're with the worst country, vying at least for title of the shittiest country in Africa. Yet Somalis have this attitude. Ironically, they have this attitude because they don't view themselves. They're like Ethiopians uh, and other non-sub-Saharan black Africans, Eritreans, Ethiopians, and Somalis, I think. I mean, there's even the divide in Sudan, North Sudan and South Sudan. The divide there's black Africa, right? There's Arab Africa up in the Maghreb, right? We know the Egyptians and Algerians, Moroccans, they're largely Arab, right? I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, but then there are the northern black Africans, Ethiopians, Eritreans, Somalis, northern Sudanese, who do not view themselves as black. And one reason these Somalis have this shitty attitude is they don't view themselves as black. You know, it's pretty hilarious that blacks, you may have heard this somewhere along the line. You guys are leaving. Motherfuckers are leaving. Yeah. You're bailing out. All right. Anyway, the reason Somalis are such arrogant pricks in Somalia and here is they don't view themselves as blacks. They view themselves as above blacks, as a hybrid uh, race of people. Just like Haile Selassie, who was, for some reason, Haile Selassie became a figure, a mythical figure for black nationalists here. Right? They started talking about Haile Selassie this, Haile Selassie that. He was like the Messiah or some shit. I forget what it was all about with the black nationalist movement in America. Haile Selassie hated sub-Saharan Africans. He didn't consider his people black. There's a long quote of his where he says, "We're not black, we're a hybrid people. Part European, part black, you know." Yeah, and again, ironically, that's where Somalis, you've seen their fucking weird ass heads, you know? I mean, I'm a white person, Northern European. I've got the big head. I've got the head that sticks out in the back, right? And my head's always been a little too big. I mean, I don't like it, you know. Uh, but I look at Somalis and think, man, those guys have the fucking funky shaped heads, man.
From paradise, and they said this isn't paradise. But when they come,
Somalia is wonderful land, apparently. Maybe it's lacking in natural resources. I doubt it. Probably not. They have beautiful beaches there, though. They've got a pretty good location. If they had anything on the ball from where Somalia is in the Horn of Africa, maybe it's really hot. I don't know. I have no idea. But they've got some beautiful land that they leave behind that they make, yeah, you know. To go live in fucking Minnesota, which my family came through Minnesota, I'd never been there. Sounds awesome. Uh, you know, and I particularly dislike the Soviets, Somalis for fucking up my mother's beloved Minnesota. But uh, they go from Africa, right? Is it equatorial Africa? Pretty much, right? It's pretty close to the equator. It's yeah, probably tropical Africa to fucking Minnesota, and that probably fucks with them. I mean, Minnesota gets damn cold, and that's the middle of the country, Great Lakes region. That shit gets cold, man. They get sub-zero temperatures. Like right now, they're probably at zero. Let me see. What's the temp? What is the temperature in Minneapolis? 4 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. Not even properly winter yet, right? Snow, 4 degrees. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So there they go. And that probably makes them fucked up too. That probably fucks them up. Phil says day one they get winter gear. Yeah. Phil the Kill says Yakub. Yakub is the maybe this is what we'll talk about. Yeah. Yakub. Nation of Islam. Yeah. So Yakub is the giant-headed mad scientist at the center of Nation of Islam. Nation of Islam's dopey ass theology. Yakub is the one who made us, right? He made the evil white devils. Yeah. And he's got the giant bulb head. Yeah. Because it's all brain up there. So that's what black people imagine. That's what they think of. So you know that their whole thing with us, their whole problem with us, they know we're smarter. They just fucking can't get over it, you know? And they should be fine. You know what I mean? If I was black, I would take pride in the usual bullshit. Oh, we're good at pop music. We're good. We seem to punch above our weight in entertainment generally. They suck as actors, but there's no use telling them that. But I mean, they do have good comedians. They do have a sense of humor. There's something there. They're great at popular music, at rhythmic music. They're great at sports. Just take pride in that. I think a lot do. A lot of them do. Take pride in that and get over it. You know what I mean? Like we're all supposed to be, white people are supposed to be so uptight about, the big black sex drive, the big black dick. When in reality, they're all fucked up about the big Caucasian cranium, right? And what comes out of their fucking mouths, also at being kind of ugly, really. Let's be honest. We have the good hair and everything else, and we are better looking. Let's be honest. Uh, but what comes out of their mouth when you see these, endless videos of some black person spurging out in public? They'll start talking about intelligence, like, "Oh, y'all so stupid, man," and the way you look. You know what I mean? Before they even go into the bullshit about we're better at this, they don't even get to that. You know what I mean? They don't even get to the, superior at sports and sex part. No, they just go, and that's telling because that tells you what the person's really fucked up about. It reminds me of this black girl I was listening to talking about her white boyfriend, right? And they have these horrible fights, and they're having was basically the worst kind of fucking fight. And she didn't understand it, but she said something to him about, "Oh, you wish you was black" or something, in the middle of all this shit, throwing shit back and forth. And she says, "I don't know why. She liked this guy, and I think she genuinely did." And she said, "I don't know why he had freaked him out so badly." And I'm thinking to myself, I know exactly why, because that hit close to the bone. I mean, every white dude I know who's, I'm into black girls, right? And he makes it his thing to get a black girlfriend. He's trying to, he's like, I'm going to show them that a white guy can bang the crap out of a black girl, that I can please her sexually. That stems from his, sense of inferiority. Likewise, a lot of people who want to act like, oh, I have no problem with diversity. I have no problem with immigration because my job is not threatened. I'm not a loser who's competing. They don't say it this way. I'm not a loser who's competing with a bunch of dumb Mexicans for work, you know. Or I'd have no problem with miscegenation. I'm not sexually inferior. I'm doing fine. You know, that's huge. That's a huge unappreciated factor in all of this white stupidity, which lays at the base, you know, of white stupidity, of stupid actions. Anyway, finish, Mr.
Come from
President.
hell, and they complain and do nothing but bitch. We don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix
This
it.
is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. You gotta. Okay. Here's somebody who calls himself actual justice. That one's 20 minutes. I can't go on a 20-minute video. Here's more from the Post. Yeah. Some of the girls are not bad looking. Like Ilan Omar's not bad looking. They certainly seem cheerful enough. Whoa, what happened? All right, we didn't want that. Let's go back there. I accidentally closed that tab. Yeah, they seem cheerful enough. Why did they come here and look at how much fun they're having back there in Somalia, right? They're all back there in Somalia. They're even at a protest and they're having a joyful time. Then they come here and they're all these sullen pricks, right? Yakub. Here's Yakub. Yeah, there he is. So, yeah. So he looks black. Yeah, and he's got the weirdest hairline, right? He's got this huge head. He actually looks like he has a butt head, right? I mean, look at the top of the head, right? Here it is. Sorry, I wasn't showing it. There, you see it now? Is it up? Now look at his head. If I walk around behind, I'm going to see a pair of buttocks. It actually looks like, you know, a giant fat butt head. Anyway, there's your cube. And he's he's okay. And there's an ugly, ugly motherfucker. Look at that guy. Holy shit. Fucking Jay-Z, man. So he's married to. How did he end up marrying Beyonce? I guess he's got a shit ton of money. For some reason, they made Beyonce the queen, right? And something's wrong with that bitch because you never see her like talking. You never see her giving interviews, right? They're trying to hide from the fact that she's a retard. They're trying to hide that from us, right? They made for whatever reason, the Jewish guys in charge of everything decided to pick this girl out of the crowd, right? You know? And somehow Jay-Z too. I mean, how the fuck Jay-Z became he was the biggest rapper, of all time. And I don't know. I'm not a rap fan. I'm not really that racist that I can't appreciate some rap music. I've listened to it in the past. Um, but I'm far from expert at whatever the fuck's going on. Like Kendrick Lamar, somebody explained to me why Kendrick Lamar is the big deal fucking guy. You know, some of the young guys at work will blare their fucking rap music when I'm in the area. Um, you know, and I'll always come over and say, "Who's this? Who's that?" Uh, and so Kendrick Lamar sucks. That's what I can tell. He really sucks bad. You know, but that's the biggest guy, I guess. Chuck D. In Hamburg, Germany. Get the fuck. Oh yeah. Just shut the fuck up, Chuck. There you are, Louis Farrakhan, the man, still alive and breathing. Jacob wrestling with the angel. Why is this here? Wallace Fard Muhammad. So this is the the guy who created Nation of Islam. Is this white dude who was some sort of. They don't know the circumstances of its death. He might have been killed by Elijah Muhammad, who was the first real leader of the movement, right? Elijah Muhammad. I think there are only two guys into the sort of dictatorial leader of Nation of Islam. I think Farrakhan was actually uh, Elijah Muhammad's protege. Uh, but this Wallace Fard Muhammad guy was some con man, uh, white guy or mixed race guy who got somehow ended up creating Nation of Islam for the black folks. You know. Anyway, and for some reason they show a picture of Patmos. Tweety Bird says the grift keeps our Somalians warm. Yeah, so we have to keep bringing them, or they'll. Christopher says Lamar sucks, but white liberals love him for some reason. Now, yeah, I don't follow this stuff closely, but what I think happened with Kendrick Lamar, he's a fucking midget, by the way. He's like 5'2". What what I think happened with him was he was really big and successful, um, and he came out with an album that was a feel-good kind of album. It was apolitical and it was positive. And this will get you in trouble in rap music. There was controversy. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who knows this. So there was controversy that his record was not angry enough. That his record was, he was cooning because, maybe he said something, like don't hate on white people somewhere in his, right? So this whole album is, they just, he's catching hell. He's the biggest rap star out there, or the most critically acclaimed, and he's catching fucking hell for his album. So the next record that comes out is all anti-white, angry black man bullshit, and he's back on track. And so that was, that's like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, and all this happens, and he comes out with this record, and it gets big, and from that he goes on to become, um, you know, Kendrick Lamar, who we know now, this ridiculous, uh, you know, fake guy. Industry plant is the Christopher Altenart says he also emerged in the early 2010s as one of the first rappers to seem educated. It's funny because I mean, should we play a little? It's so fucking bad. The one that they make a big deal out of, um, not like us. Oh, I would play the halftime music show. This is so fucking awful. I don't think I can play any of it. Yeah, turn the TV off, turn the TV off. So I know like three of them at least. Squabble up, turn the TV off, and fucking not like us. And let's see, let me just try this. It's a diss track against. The thing with Drake, remember, so this was about Drake, and Drake is like half Jewish. He's at least half white, right? So he goes after Drake because, as a young fellow explained to me, there are three rappers now that they consider the big three: Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and a guy named J. Cole, who I've never heard. Um, and so Kendrick Lamar comes out and says, "Fuck the big three, they're just me," right? And so it's on, as the Negroes say. Uh, um, and then Drake supposedly responded with a diss track um, that wasn't very good. And then Kendrick came back at him and put him in his place uh, and won, you know, because this is what black people do with fucking art is turn it into a goddamn squabble, you know? Okay, so here are the lyrics to Not Like Us. And I was, yeah, I saw the title and I thought, they not like us is how is the of course is the reprise, and I'm thinking this is some anti-white horse shit too. Uh and I just read in the notes there that it's supposed to be about how Drake and his crew, they not like us because they're fake. Uh, but anyway, so this comes out, they not like us, and the critics declare it a sort of cultural watershed moment, right? This is bigger than a diss track. This is bigger than a song. This is a cultural touchstone moment, right? And here are the lyrics. Psst, I see dead people. Mustard on the beat, ho. Mustard on the beat, ho. Mustard must be the DJ. Debo any rap, nigga. He a free throw. Man down, callin' amber lamps. Ambulance. Tell him, breathe, bro. Nail a nigga to the cross. He walk around like Tizo. What's up with these jabroni ass niggas trying to see Compton? The industry can hate me, fuck 'em all they and they mama. How many ops you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body. I'm John Stockton. Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman. I'm the one that upped the score with 'em. Walk him down, whole time. I know he got some hoe in him. Pull on him, extort shit, bully death row on him. Say, Drake, I hear you like 'em young. You better not ever go to cell block 1. To any bitch that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that gets your hand-me-downs, and Party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baca got a weird case. Why is he around? Certified lover boy? Certified pedophiles? Wop, 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 dot, dot. Fuck 'em up. Wop, 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 wop. I'ma do my stuff. Why you trolling like a bitch? Ain't you tired? Trying to. What the fuck is going on here? Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor. They not like us. 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 You think the Bay gonna let you disrespect Pac, nigga? I think that Oakland show gonna be your last stop, nigga. Did Cole foul? I don't know why you still pretending. What is the owl? Bird niggas and burnt benches go. The audience not dumb. Shape the stories how you want. Hey, Drake, they're not slow. Rabbit hole is still deep. I can go further, I promise. Ain't that something? B-Rad stands for bitch, and you Malibu most wanted. Ain't no law, boy. You ball boy. Fetch Gatorade or something. Since 2009, I had this bitch jumping. You niggas get a wedgie, be flipped over your boxers. What OVO for? The other vaginal option? Pussy. Nigga better straighten they posture. Got famous all up in Compton. Might write this for the doctorate. Tell the pop star quit hiding. Fuck a caption, one action, no accident. I'm all hands on. He fuck around, get polished. Fucked on Wayne girl while he was in jail. That's conniving. Then get his face tatted like a bitch apologizing. I'm glad DeBraz came home. Y'all didn't deserve him, neither. From Alondra down to Central, nigger better not speak on Serena. And your homeboy needs subpoena, that predator move in flocks. That name gotta be registered and placed on neighborhood watch. I lean on you niggas like another line of walk. Yeah, it's all eyes on me, and I must send it up to Pac, eh? Put the wrong label on me, I'ma get dropped, eh? Sweet chin music, and I won't pass the ox, eh? How many stocks do I really have in stock, eh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5, eh? Devil is a lie, he a 69 God, eh? Freaky ass niggers need to stay they ass inside, eh? Roll they ass up like a fresh pack of za, eh? City is back up. It's a must. We outside, eh? They not like us. 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 Once upon a time, all of us was in chains. Homie's still doubling down, calling us some slaves. Atlanta was the Mecca, building railroads and trains. Bear with me for a second. Let me put y'all on game. The settlers was using townfolk to make 'em richer. Fast forward 2024, you got the same agenda. You run to Atlanta when you need a check balance. Let me break it down for you, this real nigga challenge. You called Future when you didn't see the club. Hey, what? Little Baby helped get your lingo up. What? 21 gave you false street cred. Thug made you feel like a slime in your head. Hey, what? Quavo said you can be from Northside. What? 2 Chainz say you could, but he lied. You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. No, you not a colleague, you a frickin' colonizer. The family matter and the truth of the matter, it was God's plan to show y'all the liar. Mm-mm, mm-mm. He a fan, 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 he a freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life. Let me hear you say OVO, OVO. Say OVO, OVO. Then step this way, step that way. Then step this way, step that way. Are you my friend? Are we locked in? Then step this way, step that way. Then step this way, step that way. Damn. Damn. Yeah, it's awful, but you know, I mean, I don't even require it to make sense. I mean, I understand. I understand rap as a concept. Sam says this song has cadence. You don't. Thanks, Sam. You're right. I was just reading it. I don't like. I've heard some Drake now. I actually hadn't heard any till recently. Drake way better. Drake way better than this nigga. Drake has a couple of great songs I heard that were awesome. And Sam, this nigga, all he does is chant. I hear Squabble Up, so yeah. One of the kids at work is playing. You know, he's got this track and Squabble Up in his playlist, and I've heard them a few times now. And Squabble Up and this fucking song are the same fucking song. It's same cadence. Talking about cadence, it's always the chant. He sucks. I'm sorry. He kind of sucks. And I'm listening to this one, Not Like Us, and I'm thinking, this is the big fucking song? This is like some guy's tape. This is like some young up and comer, Sam. Where are you, Sam? Come on out, bro. You not like us, Sam. You not like us. You not like us. So this is supposed to be the big fucking song of the century, right? And it's like something, I swear, it's like I imagine some kid on his way up, this is on his fucking tape, right? His little underground tape that he's going to try and get in the hands of P. Diddy and hope he doesn't have to give up those cheeks, right? To get the record deal, right? It's shit. Squabble Up is shit. I'm sorry. Maybe his earlier work, his other stuff is better. But I've heard two tracks now, and they both suck hard, you know. But I wasn't trying to produce cadence. Wait a minute. How the fuck is Sam getting. Who the fuck is Sam? I have to. Why do you have the little crown? It was a letter to Drake. Yeah, I know that. The whole fucking thing is about Drake. I despise the whole fucking rap battle bullshit. I fucking hate it. I hate that he's at the Super Bowl, right? So, did you see the Super? I'm going to tell me that was good. His little dance, his fucking dance. He's the black guy who can't dance, right? And so he's going to try and do something. Fuck that. And then, it's the Super Bowl, right? I mean, it should be this fucking. It had nothing to do with you and Drake, your petty fucking squabble. This stupid fucking beef between a couple of black rappers, like the shittiest people on the planet, like the least joyful, the least charming human beings on the fucking planet. And like I said, Drake is like way better than this guy. Drake's music, I'm sorry. So I've heard like three or four Drake tracks, and I've heard these two tracks from Kendrick, and Drake's like 10 times better. And Drake produces his own shit. He's a producer performer. I don't know, maybe Kendrick produces, but the production is shit too. Like I said, it's just chanting. Yeah, there's a cadence, but that's all there is. You know, squabble up, squabble up, squabble up. They not like us. They not like. Shut the fuck up already. God damn it. Why has Sam got a fucking crown? How did this happen? I don't understand. What is this stupid crown? It's just, oh, I think that's just if you comment enough, you get the fucking crown. I don't know. Christopher's right. I never understood the appeal. His voice is obnoxious. His cadence is obnoxious. His lyrics are obnoxious. He's obnoxious, right? And people are like, this is smart, man. And I mean, what's smart in here? He's talking about Atlanta, like, I like that he mentions Alondra. I live near Alondra in a couple of cities over from Compton. I won't say where. I don't want to dox myself. I don't want to. Norwalk. Yeah. So it's like fucking almost 10 miles away from Compton. Compton, which is not even Compton anymore. It's like all Mexican now, right? He's talking about Compton like it's still that fucking, NWA Compton. Oh, Sam says, I hate your letters too, but I don't read them. Well, you should have read the last one. It had a lovely poem. Yeah. What's this about Wichita? Anyway, Sam, you suck, but I'm going to let you stay. We're going to let you stay because we need at least one asshole. We need we need one dopey guy who takes Kendrick Lamar seriously, or else, there's no balance. But you should read my letters because they're like way better. Here's one of my letters. This will be posted soon, I promise. I haven't had time to work on it. This is a long piece about stochastic terrorism, and it was just going to be about people are using this phrase again now in connection to Israel and people calling for violence against Nick Fuentes, against Tucker, against Megyn Kelly, against various figures who are critical of Israel. And so the subject of stochastic terrorism came up. John Vance says, I just did a journal entry. Yeah, don't present it to Sam, though, because if it's not like repetitive chanting, if you're not calling out your oppo, he doesn't want to hear it, man. But did you do a journal entry, John? Because I don't know why. That's good. What's a journal? It's a diary. Yeah, dear diary, dear journal. I used to journal. I used to like try and keep a journal, but it's like a diary, and I don't want to have a diary. Um, yeah, so I just try and write something once in a while. It is a diary. I wrote it on my phone. Share it with us, John. Um, share it with John. Sam, I mean. Sam C5. I hope Sam didn't leave. Don't go, Sam. All right? Don't go. We're bros, right? Right? What does Kendrick say? What does Kendrick say at the end of this brilliant, genius masterpiece? Are you my friend? Are we locked in, Sam? Step this way, step that way. Oh. Oh. Anyway, John Vance has a diary. We're not going to make fun because, you know. So anyway, I start writing this shit, and then it's just supposed to be about what's happening with these sort of almost nearly direct calls for violence against Megyn Kelly and Tucker and Nick Fuentes, who, as we recall, and is somehow lost in everything. Somebody actually went to Nick Fuentes' house to kill and believably to kill him because this person killed other people already. Um, you know, so this idea of stochastic terrorism arises in my mind, right? Now, and so I was just going to write about that, and then I end up getting so well, because I'm not Sam, because I'm not fucking Kendrick Lamar, and just start fucking spouting bullshit, like throwing up fucking phraseology. You know, I should go and look into this more. I mean, I don't know shit about stochastic terrorism. So I started reading all these papers about stochastic terrorism, you know, like this one from the Direxel Law Review, where the guy's saying basically we should rescind the First Amendment, right? And adopt international standards of speech where there's no genuine freedom of speech. Now, European models of speech, and if you know Europe now, it's in England and elsewhere, they throw you in jail for tweeting, if you tweet nigger, they fucking you go straight to jail. If you did what I just did, straight to like the meme, right? Like the guy in the meme, straight to jail right now, right? Anyway, so I start reading about these. I read 3 or 4 papers on this idea, and I realized there's a whole theory of stochastic terrorism that came about. It actually started way back, the phrase stochastic terrorism. And what stochastic terrorism really means is, um, so it's when demagogy, right? Political demagogic rhetoric, right? Uh, prompt somebody to violence, right? And it's nothing new. It's not a new idea, but they're trying to make it a new sound like it's something new. Um, but the idea is, how did the one guy put it? One of them put it well, uh, uh, concisely. Put it as, okay, is violence resulting from rhetoric that is statistically predictable, uh, but individually unpredictable. That is, if I got out here and if I had a high enough platform and I come out here, where the fuck is Sam? Get the fuck back in here, Sam, you pussy, you fucking giant pussy. Uh, anyway, I want you back, Sam. I want you back. So anyway, the idea is that if I had they 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 were really after the Fox News guys. This all started before Trump even came on the scene. Trump came as if made for this whole idea. But they started in 2011. Somebody on the Daily Kos blog, Daily Kos or Kos, uh, introduced the phrase stochastic terrorism, and he says, "Yeah, man, when Bill O'Reilly and those guys start talking." Glenn Beck was big on Fox News at the time. He used to do this shit with a whiteboard and talk about Tides Foundation and stuff. Actually, some good work in there. Glenn Beck's a total bitch now, but it wasn't all bad. But he said, but the guy at Daily Kos says, yeah, when these guys do this, they make it inevitable. He argues that they make it inevitable that some crazy is going to pick up their ideas and go. Now, some guy was arrested trying to go to the Tides Foundation. Tides Foundation is this big money laundering fucking operation that the Democrats use. I'm sure the Republicans have their own, but for the Democrats, Tides Foundation, and all kinds of, like a lot of BLM contributions came through Tides. And all kind of money goes to Tides through various grift slash nonprofit charities, right? Um, and they take that money and they distribute it to Democrats, and they use it to just basically fuck shit up. And this was what Glenn Beck used to talk about all the time. And then some guy, I don't think he even managed to commit any violence. I think he was just intending on going to Tides and shooting the place up or something, and he gets arrested. So the guy on Daily Kos says, well, this is stochastic terrorism. Um, and that Glenn Beck and, who was that other guy? Oh, Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, who's the last man standing of the group. When they talk, what they're doing is stochastic terrorism because they know that somebody's going to act on it. Now, this was just a blog post. He's taken up an idea that actually kind of started on the neoconservative side. In 2003, some guy named Gordon Wu wrote a paper where he introduced the phrase, and he didn't really flesh out the idea much. But he was talking, I read that paper too, and he seemed to accept neoconservative bullshit. Bush, he's citing people like Dick Cheney and stuff. Um, so the guy worked for an insurance company. There was a law in 2002 they passed after 9/11, after we thought that, okay, this is our new normal. There are going to be more of these big attacks. They're going to be, little attacks. We were out of, I don't know. It was a crazy time, you understand. Everybody's thinking, oh, this is the new normal. We're going to get this shit again, right? So they passed a law saying insurance companies had to carry terrorism insurance because insurance companies aren't going to want to carry a terrorism insurance if they don't have to. So the law had a couple of things. I think it's still law too. Um, I forget what it was called. But one thing was requiring the insurance companies, I think you know, for just big time property owners too, not for like you and me. You can't get terrorism insurance on your house. Um, why would you want it? It's so fucking stupid, right? But um, you the law required uh, companies to offer terrorism insurance. This is after that one guy, the Jewish guy who was leaseholder of the Twin Towers. He got a double payout because both towers came down of like 4.5 billion. Um, but anyway, so they required the insurance companies to offer the terrorism insurance, and then to help the insurance companies out, the government backstops that. So something along the lines of bank insurance. They backstopped the losses that they might incur by saying, basically, we'll bail you out if you're going to get ruined by a payout. All really fucking stupid, actually, because as you see, no, we didn't get a bunch of twin towers style attacks. Um, we got a bunch of new laws, we got wars, we got a lot of stupid shit. Where the fuck are you, Sam? You prick. Sam, we have a diary to read. I've got all kinds of shit. Get the fuck back here, you giant pussy. Anyway, so this guy Gordon Wu works for the insurance industry in some capacity. I don't know exactly, but his role is to analyze risk. And he wrote a paper talking about this idea, stochastic terror. Now, stochastic is an idea that goes way back to uh, like 1700 or something. Anyway, I've got it written down here. Why don't I just look it up? Okay, where is it? I better not have cut it out of here. Jacob Bernoulli. Uh, those of you who have been in aviation know the Bernoulli principle and how important that is to flight. So Jacob Bernoulli was, one of these uh, prominent scientists. He 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 had a mathematical treatise called Ars Conjectandi. Uh, I think it means the art of conjecture or conjectural arts. And it's all about, it was published in 1713, and it's all about probability. And he introduced the word stochastic, comes from Greek, stokos for aim or guess at, right? And so stochastic processes, which is another way of saying random processes, you probably heard that phrase, uh, became uh, part of a broad number of disciplines: mathematics, game theory, physics, finance, medicine, and stochastic process or random processes is all about predicting things which you cannot place, right? Say how often something will occur, but you can't predict when exactly or where exactly something will happen, you know. So anyway, that idea, that's out there. That's been out there forever. Some guy over at Daily Cause blog, decides. And this is the thing with fucking ideas like this. You create the illusion of novelty, the illusion of scholarly depth. When you find a good word, you find a good word and you put it, just the title. You put a title, on some old shit, right? And demagogy is not nothing new, right? Fiery rhetoric, angry rhetoric is nothing new. I will concede what we have now, and this is after, Trump, and after, I mean, what we have developed over the past 4 or 5 years, what we've developed really since Trump showed up in 2016 is a much higher level of this kind of angry, frantic, hysterical, much more hysterical rhetoric, and most of it, of course, comes from the left. You know, their reaction to Trump has changed, um, and in this new environment with social media, um, it is a whole new world. I'll concede, but the stochastic terrorist idea isn't really anything new. It's just them trying to put this, what they think is a cool sounding word. Stochastic, I think, is a scary sounding word. And I talk a bit about the structure of stochastic in the piece. But, uh, you know, this idea that we have a new form of terrorism, stochastic terrorism, and somehow it's just right wing. Somehow it's just coming from the right. And the idea, like I said, the Daily Kos blog introduces it in 2011. Trump isn't even on the horizon yet. It was just, and if you'll remember, during the Obama administration, they tried to make it out like there was this racist reaction to Obama, right? And Obama, like every president, got all manner of all manner of threats were identified. You know, there's always a bunch of crazies out there who will tell somebody, "I'm going to shoot the president," right? And they have to investigate. Like every presidential administration has this happening, right? And you could cite hundreds of them. Uh, if you're talking about everybody who said something crazy, who had to get at least a knock on the door from feds, right? So, and Barack Obama got his share or more than his share of that. Um, but as you see, there was never any assassination attempts on his life. None of these so called threats rose to any real level because we would hear about it every fucking day. Oh, remember that one guy who was stalking Barack Obama at yeah, no. But 2011, Obama's still in office. It's the first administration, and dorks like Daily Kos are they try to gin up this whole, forgotten now, but at the time, through those whole 8 years, they were constantly trying to gin up this idea that white America was reacting, to to uh, the Obama presidency. You know, Obama wouldn't have been president if he wasn't a black dude. You know, all these white fucking uh, liberal douchebags, who showed up automatically to vote for him, took him over the top. Nonetheless, it just had to be characterized dishonestly or delusionally by the left as, oh my God, Barack Obama is in office and he's the black savior, and all these horrible white people, especially the ones at Fox News, just can't handle it, man. So that was the environment in which the Daily Kos blog introduced stochastic terrorism. They took this idea of stochastic terrorism that Gordon Wu in 2003 had offered up really from a neoconservative point of view. He cited Bush administration officials and the doctrine of preemption favorably, right? This guy, the paper that he wrote wasn't political. It was, an industry study. Nonetheless, it, it comes more from a neoconservative point of view, obsessed with Islamic terrorism and the lone wolf, the so-called lone wolf of Islamic terrorism. Uh, and in 2011, somebody called himself, what did he call himself? Go to Geek or some stupid fucking name. Um, Decides, hey, I like this. I don't know how he found it though. Nobody, this idea is in total obscurity, but this guy, Go to Geek, finds it and says, whoa, I'm going to apply that to Fox News and this Tides Foundation near miss, right? So he introduces the idea of stochastic terrorism. And it would basically, well, and it, you know, here, he puts it well, succinctly. Terrorist acts that are statistically predictable but individually unpredictable. All right. That's the basic idea. Um, so from that, slowly and then quickly around 2019, uh, when Trump is in office, obviously Trump shows up on the scene. And he is fucking ridiculously irresponsible in his, you think he would be wiser, you know. Um, he is crazy and sloppy and careless with his words. But he shows up as if, tailor made to help this idea of stochastic terrorism along. Um, but of course, it all falls apart, and then so he's there, and it's like 2019. They start talking about it in the Washington Post. 2021, um, the papers start rolling. 23, another big paper starts rolling, and right. So then every year up until about 2024, it sort of ends. And I went looking for Google searches, and you could see that it comes down. That it gets a little bit of traction through 2020 through 2024. And then it drops off a cliff. And it spiked September of 2025. And a lot of people made the connection with the Charlie Kirk assassination that, wait a minute, a lot of people recall this. Remember, we were joking about this new phrase 2 and 3 years ago or more, stochastic terrorism. Keep in mind now, this idea that they've molded, right? And these papers really do read more like they're like spitballing back and forth among these guys who are all on the same page politically. They're all of the left. They all hate the right wing. Um, and really, it's like phony theorizing. It's made to look like scholarly inquiry, but it really is more like they're shooting ideas back and forth about how can we craft a new political bludgeon to use on the right. And one thing they do with these papers is we have to, we have to define it as right wing specifically, even though it so obviously can be applied to any demagogy, anything, right or left, right? But we need to characterize it as authoritarian, because somehow authoritarianism only applies to the right wing, right? It's never like communist governments. It's never, all the left wing censorship. There's nothing authoritarian somehow about all the censorship pressure coming from the left. Anyway, we identified as authoritarian, racist, you know, and it demonizes and otherizes people. Just they think they can use that language, right? But of course, as early as 2020 with BLM, and you could see that they had a huge problem. That this idea, and it's even in one of the papers I cite here, is that one of the guys wrote a paper where he says, uh, essentially, wait a minute, fellas, this could be applied to us. You know, their whole problem was to try and keep it corralled, right? To keep it, define it as right wing, and make sure it's only going to be applied to the right wing. That they can't be hoisted by their own theoretical petard, right? By this idea, for instance, by BLM. And BLM, I mean, you didn't just have insane rhetoric. Think of Kamala Harris telling that idiot Stephen Colbert, who had the look. He had this. It was in the middle of the BLM. It was at the height of BLM violence, and Colbert's like asking her something like, "How much longer do we have to eat shit, Kamala?" Kamala, who's running for president, right, or vice president at the time, says it's going to keep going on. It's just going to keep. She says it like that, right? It's just going to keep going, man, and it should, right? And Stephen Colbert's like like a hostage, right? Oh, okay. But there was just so much demagogic shit coming out of the political class. Like, oh yeah, this is good. At the same time, you forget there was a death toll associated with the BLM riots. There was a vast amount of property destruction, of course, and a lot of people got injured by the fucking rioters. Uh, you know, and this is going on, and it's not only was it being encouraged by such as Kamala Harris, it was also um, the media was also deliberately lying, right? Like when the laughable trope about mostly peaceful protests, right? The media not only, I mean, it goes well beyond what the theorists of stochastic terrorism say qualifies as terrorism. They were encouraging it. And they were, and it wasn't just Fox News or one platform. It was, everybody getting together, everybody in the mainstream media except for Fox News, right? Getting together and saying, okay, here's the line, guys. Mostly peaceful protests. Uh, you know, um, uh, what's the phrase? Systemic racism, police racism, right? And they were also covering up things because remember, nobody, not once, and I guarantee you there wouldn't be a single news segment, maybe on Fox News. And I say maybe because Fox News actually seemed kind of tepid in their opposition. Not once did anyone do a news segment where they said, "Hey, just how many unarmed black people are getting killed by police each year, right? This is supposed to be the big problem. And people still think that hundreds die every year, you know, unarmed black men killed by racist police, the cops, they toothless and slobbering. There's a nigger, shoot him, right? No. I mean, it's like a dozen people, and when you get into the individual cases, each year, so-called unarmed, I remembered, I remember one year they made a big deal about an unarmed black guy shot by police. It turns out the unarmed black guy was trying to run a cop down with his car. He wasn't armed with a gun, but he was trying to run the cop over with his car. Like so many of these so-called unarmed black casualties are guys who were either charging the cops, like Mike Brown did to that cop, right? Um, or they're trying to beat the shit out of the cop, right? So anyway, and I think I mean it's 2020. It's already the you can already see, and like I said, at least one of them wrote a paper in about 2021 where he said He was basically in coded language saying to the other lefties, "All right, be careful now, because we might be raising a golem here. You know, this thing might be used against us. We should be careful." Um, yeah. And then, of course, Trump came along. And like I said, I saw the spike in Google searches in September of this year, 2025, when Charlie Kirk was killed. And a few people rediscovered the phrase. I think Nick Fuentes used it himself. And, but anyway, as I'll get to when, if I ever finish writing this fucking piece, um, what's happening now is it's not the left anymore. It's the pro Zionist, I guess, right wing Zionists, right wing, left wing doesn't really mean anything when you're talking about the Babylon Bee, for instance, which you would think are right wing Zionists, right? If they were in Israel, they would be right wingers. But anyway, the idea of stochastic terrorism has been taken up as a tactic now, and it's gone well beyond, like Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity doing their usual shtick, where they try to get a bunch of old people riled up or scared by talking shit. It's gone well beyond that. It's got to the point where, you know, what's my favorite example? I mean, where they're what it appears to be deliberate suggestions, right? I spoke about this last time a couple of weeks ago. It's the oft-cited, "Will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest" from Beckett line, where the king says, "Will nobody do something about this?" He's not directly asking for someone to be assassinated. He's just putting it out there. Someone take the initiative out there and get rid of this priest for me. We have that happening now, almost explicitly, when we have guys like Josh Hammer saying somebody needs to, what did he say, neutralize Tucker Carlson. The Babylon Bee saying, Babylon Bee, which is just so shitty. It just sucks so bad. I mean, they're not even funny anymore. So the Babylon Bee makes a pager joke about Megyn Kelly, which I don't, none of this I would, By the way, reading one of these papers about what the law is where it stands now, you can say there's a precedent set, and the case was Brandenburg versus Ohio. It's the Warren Court, a liberal court, ruling about a case where the KKK was charged under a law. Um, and the law, there was a couple of states that had these laws. They used the phrase syndicate or something. They tried to establish speech codes against what these guys would call stochastic terrorism now. And a ruling against a KKK guy who made some pretty extreme comments about the use of force. A KKK fed, probably, right? Uh, and they overthrew it. And the ruling in Brandenburg says, I can stand up here and say, um, we're going to need to use force to take our country back, for instance. I can actually say that. You can't, YouTube would probably take me down if I said that, even X, the supposed free speech platform, would probably take me down if I said that. But it is not, you have the First Amendment right to say something. How did they put it? I've got it in here somewhere. Brandenburg. In the case of Brandenburg versus Ohio, the Warren Court overturned the conviction of a Ku Klux Klan leader for incitement to violence under Ohio law, interpreting the First Amendment to allow speech, even that advocating the use of force or, and I've got it. oh, I didn't put the phrase in here, but the phrase is you could advocate the use of force or basically lawfare. In general, you cannot use it you can use it unless it is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. So what they're saying as I read it is you can say, for instance, generally speaking, we're going to have to raise arms and overthrow the government eventually. Say, I could say that. I can't say, specifically, hey guys, we should right now, let's raise arms and go overthrow the government of Ohio or whatever, right? You can't say that. But you can say, and most people probably don't realize this, you can say this country needs an armed revolution. I think under Brandenburg, I could say that, you know. And this, of course, just makes liberal heads explode, even though their side says it all the time. That's what BLM was, right? BLM actually, in the case of Brandenburg versus Ohio, we could see that the Warren Court actually established you can say, you know, you can advocate the use of force, but you can't incite imminent force. And we saw in 2020 with the riots in 2020, every night somebody was inciting force. And the same people who were rioting and who were down there in Portland with me, I saw them with my own two eyes, recorded them. Um, Same people who were throwing bricks at cops and setting fire to shit were saying every night, this is an armed this insurrection, basically. This is an armed revolution. They were giddy, with the romance of it. Sam didn't come back. Oh, Sam, we hardly knew ye. What an asshole. I have to see who this guy is. Apparently, he's some kind of guy obsessed with Trump. You suck, Sam. I'm looking at your page, at your channel. It's really awful. It's all Trump memes. It's all anti Trump memes. AI generated images of Trump. Dude, you suck so bad. Just, I mean, come on, dude. You suck so fucking bad, Sam. How dare you come in here and talk shit about us when you can't even create content, dude. You can't even form content. You fucking horrible, stupid shithead. I'm offended by how mediocre you are. I'm offended, right? And when somebody comes in here and fucks with me, you better have more game than that, my brah, right? I mean, when it's Drake versus who's the midget that Kendrick, at least they're both high level guys. They might be dorks, but they're high level, man. I do not deny that. But you fucking with me is like, Joe Blow who raps on the corner, right? Doesn't even have a tape together yet. Is fucking you know, with Drake. I won't say Kendrick because, like I said, Drake. Yeah, whatever. Drake's a dork or he's a child. He's fucking underage girls. Whatever it is, he actually does produce good music. I think Sam just got mad. AI Slop Sam, have you seen it? Yeah. Check it out. It's really awful. Uh, Anyway, come back, Sam. I take it all back. I didn't mean a word of it. Get that cross-eyed Indian FBI agent on the case. Yeah, yeah. Why does Cash Patel always look like he's startled, right? What the fuck's going on with that eye? Can't they fix it? It's funny though. Yeah. I mean, I had a friend who had, you've had friends who've had that bad eye. After a while, you stop noticing it. You notice it at first, right? Then you kind of stop seeing it. But Cash Patel, every time you see him, it's like, what the fuck? It doesn't go away. John points out Obama birth certificate was the big controversy. Yeah, people forget what started the hate for Trump was long before he ran for office. Uh, Trump saw Obama come into office, and he paid money to people to. He got caught up in this Obama birth certificate thing. And if Candace Owens, maybe Candace, I don't. If Candace Owens was around at the time, she would be doing nightly shows on the Obama birth certificate thing. I mean, and maybe there's something to it. I don't think there was anything to it. But Trump became, remember, Trump, he became despised by the liberal and left when he decided um, that he was going to investigate himself Obama's birth certificate controversy. Trump's smart in a way that anybody else would have like tried to backpedal away from that. If you asked him about that tomorrow, he would say, "I still believe it," or something. But that's when they really started hating him, um, because I think Trump, he looked at Obama. Trump has always remember he always wanted to run for president. There was a period of time years ago before he was considered. He's gone through phases, and then when we first started hearing about Trump, like in the late '80s, maybe, um, he was presented as an impressive guy. This is a guy who might be president someday, right? He didn't yet develop, that later figure. This is before he became political. Like in between that, when he's doing like a cameo in Home Alone, right? Or Home Alone 2, whichever movie it was, right? Then there was that period, when he had a fucking reality show and everything else. There was that period where he was an entertainer, right? He was the reality show guy, and he was still a positive figure. But then Obama came along, and um, I think Trump was just affronted by Obama because I mean nobody wants to say it, but Obama had no business being president. Obviously, he was pushed up because he was this black guy, and I mean, it was a smart call by David Axelrod, who sort of discovered Obama and made him into president. That Axelrod, and Axelrod was talking, giving away the game early on, talking about um, oh, they better not say anything racist because they're going to get it. He was saying that when they were first introducing Obama to us because that was the plan. That was part of the plan. Any so-called racism, genuine or just contrived, or overblown, was a fucking absolute boon for them. They didn't get it, by the way, but they half expected like Fox News to go crazy over Obama. And there was a lot of reaction to Obama because he was this guy, Obama. Before he was faking being president, he was faking being a political radical. He's always been a low energy, um, mediocre fucking guy. And nobody wants to say it. They want to pretend. They want to pretend like he actually was this eloquent guy. And nobody's listening to those goddamn speeches anymore. They're terrible. Uh, I saw Norman Finkelstein talking to somebody. God bless Norman Finkelstein because he's getting older too, and he's getting even more honest about shit. But he said I hate listening to MLK. Nobody says that, right? I've always said it because MLK's horrible sing-song voice. He's got cadence, Sam, and and everything. But Finkelstein says, yeah, I hate listening to MLK because there's no substance at all. MLK, supposedly the greatest orator ever in American history, is a guy who gave speeches that were thoroughly empty. Likewise, Barack Obama gave speeches that were completely fucking empty or just, or just outright lies, dishonest, to the extent they had content, they were dishonest, right? You know, something, like it's always race, of course. And to the extent they even touched on meaningful content, it was a fucking lie. Or, so anyway, he came along, and I think Trump, who people thought he was going to be president, they were taking him seriously. That never happened, and then he becomes this beloved celebrity figure, but not taken seriously, right? He's doing that show where he says, "You're fired," and everything else, right? And then here comes Obama, this skinny, mediocre, phony fucking guy, right? And I think Trump just thought, fuck that guy. Fuck him. I would think it too, because I'm an egotistical bastard too. I think, fuck that mediocre prick. Yeah. And so then he goes out and he becomes the birth certificate guy or whatever. Yeah, I'm going out and investigate. And that was the worst thing because remember, like I said, Axelrod and all the guys behind Obama were trying to generate more of this stuff like the birth certificate controversy so they could feature it as, oh, evil white America, or that evil, that the bad half of America doesn't want him. So you good people, good whites, need to support him. Remember, they came up with the phrase they called permission structure, right? And somebody, permission structure. Can you believe these people? I would fucking throw you off a roof if you come and talk to me about permission structures because of what it means. But this was an idea that came along with Obama. Somebody said, one of the, people, so-called brains behind Obama says, we need to create a permission structure to people to vote for Obama, right? You remember this phrase? And it has persisted, and it just means that we need to create the context and control the context, um, and say, to say it's okay for you to vote for this guy, right? And that's just advertising. I mean, they will tell you. I think it's even a line in Mad Men. I think they even have Don Draper literally put it that way in Mad Men. And they borrowed all their best content on Mad Men from things that people actually said, right? And he said something about, you're selling cigarettes or something, right? And we're just trying to tell people it's okay. So that was the whole permission structure idea. Well, I think there's to the extent there's any validity to that, there's also, the sort of the non-permission structure. There's the forbidden structure, right? The things you can't do. Well, you can't vote for that guy. You can't do this. You can't say that, right? There's a flip side to permission structure, right? The condescending idea that they're telling me or you know, to leave aside our prejudices, and go ahead and vote for the right guy. You see that logic at work. Obama was trying to use this permission structure sort of idea in that painful video where you see him. He's given a speech, one of his horrible, awful speeches, right? Only everybody now realizes these speeches are horrible because he's got no energy in it. He's got no interest in it. He's just showing up because they dragged his ass out to try and force Kamala over the line. Kamala losing was almost worth it just seeing Obama eat shit over it. But there's a video where he's talking to there's like a dozen black guys around him, mostly younger guys, and he's chastising them for not, suggesting none of them want to vote for Kamala because she's a woman. And right, he was trying to give them the permission structure, and he's clumsy because he's not the fucking slick guy that everybody tried to say he is. Even his enemies tried to say, that he was this slick operator. No, he had smart Jewish people behind him the whole time. Uh, John Vance, do you think Germany will start drafting people into the army? I hope not. Um, I hope Trump gets his shit together. Um, and Trump, yeah, he's never going to get his shit together. But what needs to happen is America needs to take the lead, and they need to go to fucking NATO and Europe and say, listen, guys, it didn't work. This whole fucking thing about bringing Ukraine into NATO and uh, this whole stupid idea. I wouldn't say stupid idea though. I would say, I would bullshit. I would say, guys, this was a noble cause, a good idea, but it's not going to work. Taking it any farther is just going to do more damage. We need to settle this with Russia, on the best terms we can get, And we'll try to bring a club. We won't just bring carrots. We don't just won't just capitulate. But our focus needs now to be on ending the war, And basically, you could still fucking I think you could still get Russia to say, okay, Western Ukraine, we have we have no influence there. We, Western Ukraine's going to go its own way. Eastern Ukraine, Russian speaking Ukraine, uh, cannot, has to be demilitarized. Um, our influence there has to be unopposed. You know what I mean? That's all. I mean, and that's actually fair. I mean, it's kind of like the same fucking problem they had with Germany and Hitler before World War II, which, you know, you'll learn this if you read A.J.P. Taylor's book about the run up to World War II. It's so insane how avoidable World War II was, but you also have to remember that England, basically all these countries except Poland, which was taking a hard line over Danzig for whatever fucking reason, really. Uh, all of these countries, right up to the end, recognized that Versailles after World War One had screwed Germany over. They acknowledged it. They acknowledged that that Germany had a right. That's why Austria just went over and nobody opposed them. That's why the Anschluss, Czechoslovakia, because there were these huge German populations that were left, on the wrong side of borders following Versailles. Um, and people recognized that. England recognized it. France even recognized it. Nobody thought when they gave guarantees to Poland to go to war for them, they didn't think that they were going to do it, you know. Um, but the point is that, despite the image we have of it, Austria, and they didn't oppose him, so he just kept going. Czechoslovakia, and they didn't oppose him, so he just kept going. Um, the fact of the matter is, I accept the Suvorov thesis. The Russians were massing, gearing up for an invasion of Western Europe, and they were going to roll right into Germany. And the biggest mistake Hitler made was in splitting Poland up with the Russians, because that created a shared frontier with Russia. So instead of having the buffer that was Poland between him and Russia, Stalin was looking to fucking take over. And they got what they wanted eventually, or most of what they wanted by the end of World War II, paid dearly for it. Remember, Russia gave like 80% of German war machine was destroyed by Russia for all of our talk about what happened. Uh, but This guy Suvorov, who was a Soviet general who defected, wrote a book. It's free. You can find it for free online. Um, he goes on about how everything that Soviet Union was doing with its army leading up to the German invasion, everything suggested they were getting ready to invade Germany, um, and not just Germany, but Western Europe. You know, uh, and it's so funny. So the bastards, really, they could have just allied with Germany against the Russians, and the Russians wouldn't have had a chance or wouldn't have done anything if they knew, okay, if we invade Europe now, we've got Germany, Britain, France, Italy, right? Maybe Spain, all of Western Europe. Poland should have been on the board too. All of these guys opposing us. Um, so what are we going to do? We can't do it? No. Anyway, and I got off on that tangent because I was talking about Ukraine. It's a similar situation. You got all these Russians in eastern Ukraine, right? And and now Russia is, it's similar to, what was it, 7 or 8 million Germans in Czechoslovakia who didn't want to be governed by the Czechs, uh, you know, who were mistreated by the Czechoslovakian government. Czechoslovakia, mind you, had a powerful military. There were, you know, there would have been no pushover for the Germans. They had a powerful military and they had a strong but erratic leader. John Vance. Oh, you're from Canada. That's right. John Vance says, remember Chaz, the summer of love. Yeah. John Vance says that Obama was, in fact, born in Kenya. Yeah, so anyway, that's where it all started. And that's why they hated him. And that's why Obama, in particular, hated Trump. And remember, so they all decided we're going to humiliate Trump at uh, the DC press corps dinner, whatever they call it, right? That ridiculous annual thing where the DC press corps has a dinner and the president himself. They don't do it anymore because it's Trump now, and they can't even sit in the same room anymore. But it would be the president, and they sit with the press, and they used to hire like a big time comedian to come in and roast the president, right? And it was Jon Stewart or Stephen Colbert. I forget who roasted, say, President Bush back in the day, right? The president has to sit there and take the jokes, right? I hate roasts. I hate the whole fucking idea of roasts. But anyway, that was the thing. So they have that, and then Obama gets to speak, and it's probably an awful roast because nobody, will even joke with Obama, right? But then Trump's in the crowd, and so Obama roasts Trump, and Trump has to sit there, right, while Obama makes fun of him, right? And they're all laughing, the whole room's laughing. And there's egomaniacal Trump sitting there, and it's all about how you think you were going to be president because he did, in fact, a couple of times already he had floated the idea of running for president, and Obama made a joke about, yeah, stick to the fucking reality show kind of joke. And I think, that's what set it in Trump's mind. Oh, I'm going to run for president now. And I wonder if Obama ever thought, we could have just left it alone. Because Trump came in right after him and started, you know, instead of, remember, Obama said we're going to transform America. Nobody voted for that shit, by the way, but yeah, transformation of America meant demographic transformation, legal transformation, all the excesses of the left, DEI and all the other horse shit. That's what he meant, right? These things are going to be, it's going to be a new America, right? America's Third Reich, you know. Um, and when Trump came in, it was just a rebuke of everything, you know. Now, Trump supposedly repealed Obamacare. I don't think he really did. I don't really give a fuck. You know, if the left has a good idea for something like universal health care or something else, I'm all for it. I don't give a fuck about the free market, big government, small government horse shit, right? I don't think anybody does it anymore either. We have different issues. It's always been kind of different issues. We have more elemental and important things to fight over now. Anyway, nonetheless, for Barack Obama, and look how he's faded from view. So Barack Obama, he came in. They're going to try to say that this is, before he's even done anything, they're giving him Nobel prizes. They're trying to act like he's this, you know, heavyweight statesman, right? The the elite, the media, the culture as a whole did everything it could to create, what it wanted. This landmark, uh, glorious 8 years of President Obama, right? Finally, finally, we would we would get beyond race, right? Right? And Obama did nothing of the sort, right? He brought us back. He had Eric Holder in there the whole time, created BLM in 2015. Recall, cops were getting shot. 4 policemen were shot by a crazy, talk about stochastic terrorism. In 2015, when the BLM movement first started taking off with large assistance from Eric Holder and Barack Obama, he gave them the opposite of what they thought, all those stupid, like Chris Matthews kind of boomers, right? Thought that we were finally going to be absolved of our supposed racism. You know. But anyway, and so deservedly so, Trump comes in on Barack's heels and just lays waste to all of it. His legacy is gone. Look how quickly he's faded from view. But that's the thing with all presidents now. It won't be a thing with Trump. Trump's not going to last much longer. He's going to die like right after he leaves office, or if they don't kill him. But Trump will leave a legacy, right? Meanwhile, George W. Bush, who was always an idiot, of course, he leaves office and he's gone. Nobody's calling on him. You never hear from him again, right? Even Bill Clinton, who was maybe the last non idiot, whatever you think of him, uh, maybe the last non idiot president we've had, including Trump, um, just faded out. Presidents aren't important. It reveals to you that the guy who becomes president is he's not that important. It's the guy, people who are behind him, right? Presidents, they as soon as they leave office, they just immediately fade. They immediately shrink down, right? They were giant, and they just shrink down to nothing, right? And it happened bad with Obama. Like, not only did he sort of disappear, frankly, because the guy doesn't, one of the conspiracy theories I hate the most was the idea that he was running the government during Biden's term. That sounds like some shit to me. That sounds like some bullshit to me. No, Obama wasn't running shit. Uh, Obama is taking direction. I think Obama really, mostly during the Biden administration, was enjoying his. Better not be a knock on my door. Was enjoying, hanging out at his mansion and smoking cigarettes, you know, getting twinks on the down low. Um, but nonetheless, Trump comes in and just wrecks everything that Trump had built, that Barack Obama had built up. So Barack Obama should probably look back on this and realize the role he's had to play in this reaction. We are the forces of reaction. Trump represents the forces of reaction, and I don't say that as negative, obviously. I'm reactionary. Um, yeah, and that's the best I can say for Trump, you know? Yeah. But I got to get back to writing. Uh, you know, it had UFC this weekend. The only sport I follow in most casually is UFC. Yeah, it's the only one worthwhile, you know. But what I need now is some music. Okay, if anybody out there has anything to say, say it now, forever hold your peace. Me, I'm going to try and find some music to play on the way out. Yeah, that's all. I'm just looking for that. What the hell? This is nothing here. Nothing good. All right, this is good enough.
know there's a little sale on vests at Walmart. $9.
Oh yeah?
8 something, yeah. Nice little vest, light. Well, I've never fished here. I've caught Beaucoup fish in Revenberg.
I never did catch fish. Oh, from the boat.
Beaucoup fish in Revenberg. big chicken tender, slab.